Hello all. And it's almost about 7 p.m. now, but let's wait for a couple of minutes so that other learners might also be able to join. Thank you for the patience. Let's wait a couple of minutes so that everybody can join. Okay, I think we can start the discussions and let others join in the meanwhile. Just let me know if my screen is visible and even my voice is audible. Is the screen visible to everyone? Uh, I request you to kindly let me know if my screen is visible to everybody and even if I'm audible. If there is any issue, you can also text in the in-call messages section. Okay, anyway, I assume uh, all of you can see the presentation. And with the same context, let us begin today's session. Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to today's problem-solving session of Housing Policy and Planning, the NPTEL course of Professor Uttam Kumar Roy of IIT Roorkee. Once again, I'm Aditya Bandari. I'm a PMRF at Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee. So, with no delay, let us begin today's session. And actually, hope I'm audible to everybody for the today's session. And if the screen is not visible, just comment accordingly. So, thank you. So, for today's session, let us discuss the different questions from the previous years. Then, also based on the discussion with the professor, we also made certain changes into the today's session, also that so that we can also discuss certain concepts associated with this week's sessions in much more detail than which it would have been possible in the live sessions of NPTEL session. So accordingly, we will discuss today. So the first question of the previous year's questions. So it is the development plan is prepared for the period of dash number of years. So if we know that the correct answer is 5 years because perspective plan, which is a higher level plan, is usually prepared for the 25 years of time for the metropolitan and district level areas. So 5 years is the development plan, and then perspective plan is prepared for 10 to 25 years of period, and 1 year is generally annual plan. So the correct answer is 5 years. Then the second question, let us discuss how the dwelling unit density of sector of total area of 200 hectares is 80 dwelling units per hectare. So it means in a 200 hectare area, there are 80 dwelling units per each hectare. So the total population of the sector, considering dwelling unit size of 4 will be. So there are 4 options given to us. So it mentions if each dwelling unit has 4 people residing in it, then there are 80 dwelling units per each hectare spread over the area of 200 hectares. What is the total population of the whole sector? So that is what the question is asking us about. So before that, let us look at the definition of a dwelling unit. So dwelling unit is basically nothing but an equivalent of a household or a family that is residing in a either in a part of a census house or in a complete building or structure. So the given, for example, the question says there are 200 hectares. So consider each box is a hectare here. So the 10 into 20 it is 200 hectare. 200 hectare. Each square represents a hectare here. Then each hectare is having 80 dwelling units each. So the total number of dwelling units in all of them is 200 into 80. That is 200 times 80 dwelling units. So and then again each dwelling unit has 4 people each. So that is telling us that there are 220 people in each hectare. So the 80 dwelling units into 4. So that is 320 people. So it reflects that there are 200 hectares and for each hectare there are 320 people. It gives us an answer of 64,000. So to simplify and consider it in a different way, so let us discuss that what are the given indicators to us. First one is total area of the given sector is 200 hectares. So then the dwelling unit size is 4 persons per dwelling unit, and then the dwelling unit density is 80 dwelling units per hectare. So the population, how we calculate the population for this particular problem is, let us calculate the area, total area along with the number of dwelling units and then number of people residing in each dwelling unit. So the total area multiplied by dwelling unit size multiplied by the density of the dwelling units. So the population is the total area is 200 hectares multiplied by 4 persons per dwelling unit and times 80 dwelling units per hectare. So we get the following variables, following units get cancelled. So it gives us 200 into 4 into 80, that is 64,000 persons is the population of this particular sector. So the correct answer for this question is 64,000. Similarly, we eliminate the other wrong answers for the particular question. Uh, so that's how we answer this question. So it is basically back calculation of the population from the calculation of the population density on unit density, how we calculate the population. So then, which of the following separates the traffic moving from opposite sides? So there are 4 options: carriageway, footpath, median, and intersection. So when while we discuss the different options, let us remember the structure of the roads, structure of arterial roads, subarterial roads, local roads, and then the collector roads. So we know that uh, each and every road usually allows the traffic to flow in the 2 directions. So what the major separation, the major infrastructural element of a road that separates the traffic moving in different directions is actually a median. As we all know, it is a straightforward question and simple question which we can answer directly. So then let us look at the fourth question. Sewerage system in a city refers to the category of, there are 4 options again: social infrastructure, cultural infrastructure, economic infrastructure, and the physical infrastructure. So we know so social infrastructure actually refers to the any infrastructure facilities that are intended for the development of the social capital and the human capital. So which include the basic facilities such as health, education. That is, so these are the basic human services: health and education. So health and education are the services, and the infrastructure required for these are the facilities associated with them, including schools, colleges, and healthcare facilities, primary health centers, hospitals, and other facilities. So, social infrastructure. The sewerage system does not fall into the social infrastructure. Similarly, cultural infrastructure does not include the sewerage infrastructure. Economic infrastructure is usually indicated in the terms of the large scale infrastructure that is laid at the district level or the state level. So, sewerage system is usually laid at city level, and it includes all the sewerage system refers to the pipe network actually collects the uh, sewage generated from the households and transmits it to the sewage treatment plant. So it actually refers to the physical infrastructure because it is physical service that it has been delivering. That is the collection of the sewage and the solid sewage and the wastewater from the household. So the correct answer for this question is physical infrastructure. And the fifth question again, it is in a similar way, but it is not in the backwards direction. It is asking us to calculate the gross residential density. If you remember, there are three different concepts of the population density. The first one is the population density, then followed by the gross residential density, then followed by the gross net residential density. The fifth question is asking us a sector having a total area of 80 hectares has a net residential area of 60 hectares. So if we if you have taken a sector of 80 hectares, it has 60 hectares of area that is dedicated for the residential purpose. That is a net residential area, and remaining 20 hectares is dedicated for the accessibility, that is the local roads and other streets, the recreational facilities, that is parks and others, and some small scale commercial purposes, etc. So it is how the Indian cities give the permissions of construction in the different areas, which we will discuss in detail with an example in the further section of this presentation. So it says that net residential density of 60 hectares in a total area of 80 hectares of a residential area. So if net residential density is 300 persons per hectare, what is the gross residential density? So we have four options here. It is saying that net residential in 60 hectares of area, the net residential area, there are 300 for every hectare in the net residential area. There are 300 people living in it. So now it is asking us how many people could be residing in the 80 hectares, the total 80 hectares of gross residential area. So we have been given four options. The first option is 275 persons per hectare. PPH actually here refers to the persons per hectare. So in the previous question we have seen dwelling units per hectare. Here we are seeing the population per hectare, persons per hectare. Similarly, the second option is 225 pph, that is 225 persons per hectare. The third option is 300 persons per hectare, and finally the fourth option is 250 persons per hectare. So let us examine all the options clearly, and let us also solve this question, this particular question in the same format, the way which we have discussed the previous question again. So consider this is the 10 into 8, that is 80 hectares of area. So each square is in this matrix is representing 1 hectare of area, in which 60 hectares of the area that is colored in yellow color. It is actually representing the net residential area of 60 hectares. That is 6 into 10, 60 hectares. The remaining area could be meant for different purposes. I haven't proportionally allocated in this particular matrix, but it could be something as public and semi-public, commercial, roads, parks and green spaces, etc. So this is how 80 hectares of area could be distributed. So it mentioned that 300% in each hectare of the residential area there are 300 persons living. So 300 persons per hectare, that is 300 times 60 is actually the total population living in this 60 hectares of net residential area and the 80 hectares of the gross residential area. So that means the total population residing in this 16 hectares of net residential area or the 80 hectares of gross residential area is 18,000. That is 300 times the 60 60 residential area hectares. So this is how it is distributed. So that is 18,000 people are residing in the area of 60 hectares of the net residential area, and the remaining area is dedicated for the different purposes. That is, as we discussed, it could be commercial, it could be either access roads, local roads, commuter roads, or even the parks and other local level facilities, including community halls and etc. So now again we are also going to calculate in a different way. So what we are trying to address is, so if what if the 18,000 people are living in the total gross area? So we are also allocating the other spaces which are required for the people, including the residential. Along with the residential, we are also including green spaces, road spaces. So how much total gross residential area is available for each person? So that is how we are trying to calculate this. So now if you look at it in this context, so 18,000 persons are living in a total area of 80 hectares. So that gives us the answer of 225 persons per hectare. So if we try to simplify and solve it straightforwardly, there are three given factors in this particular question again. So the first given factor is we have been given a total gross residential area of 80 hectares for this particular sector. Then the net residential area which has been given is 60 hectares. And it has been mentioned that the net residential density, that means the 60 hectare area of the net residential area is having each hectare under the net residential area is having 300%. So that is 300% per hectare is the net residential density of this particular sector. So the total population, we have to calculate the total population of this particular sector first. So to calculate that, we have to multiply the net residential density with the net residential area. So the total number of people living in each acre of the residential area. So that gives us 300 persons per hectare multiplied by the 60 hectares of area which we have. So cancelling hectares again, because numerator and denominator will cancel it accordingly, and we will get P equals to 1000, 18,000. P in this particular sense, we are referring to the population of the whole sector, the whole residential sector. So the total population living in the 60 residential net residential area is 60 hectares of net residential area is 18,000. However, they are also having the additional 20 hectares of other spaces, which include the common spaces, public parks, maybe the local roads, some commercial spaces, etc. So now we have to see how many people are living in this 80 hectares of the gross residential area. So to calculate this particular gross residential density, so we have to calculate the total population which we have identified from the previous equation. We have identified that there are 18,000 people living in this particular sector divided by the gross residential area. So what does this gross residential area define? So gross residential area refers to the residential plots which we have, along with the access roads, the local facilities, which include it might be community halls. Some neighborhoods have community halls. Some neighborhoods also have the parks and green spaces. Small scale commercial uses like small shops and other things. So these small other land uses which are mixed into the gross residential area. So the gross residential area density, which we are trying to represent by capital G here. So 18,000 persons divided by the gross residential area of 80, so which actually gives us the 225 persons per hectare. That is pph, the 225 pph. So I'm really sorry, there was some kind of mistake with the particular this particular question. So I'll just replace it. Okay, so if you look at this particular option again, we understand that the correct answer for this particular question is that the number of the gross density, the gross residential density of the given neighborhood. There is a number of people living in the total in the residential area, along with the other land uses, which include the common areas such as access roads, local roads, collector streets, then the public parks and the community hall and other facilities is 225 persons per hectare, PPH refers to the persons per hectare. So I hope everybody is clear with these questions again. So, but since I think most of you have there is some kind of up and down that's happening. I think I cannot find many of this.
Sir, yeah, it is actually only one person right now. I don't know if online others are viewing it or not.
Okay.
I had put a question. Can I talk about it?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Sir, I put a query on the forum, discussion forum. So, there was a question in the previous assignment talking about post occupancy housing upgradation not being a part of the PMA,
Okay.
that is the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, and the accepted answer came as true.
Okay.
But in the PPT, like the sir shares the presentation what he makes.
Okay.
So I had put a screenshot saying, "Can I just share my screen for a minute, sir? Is it okay?"
Sure. 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 Do that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Just a minute, sir. 。 . 。 。 。 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 。 . 。 。 。 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 . 。 .
Sure. 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 Do that.
Is it visible, sir?
Uh, Let me check once.
Okay.
I think I should stop sharing my screen first. Okay, now let me check.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, yes, yes, just let me.
It is visible.
Yes,
Yeah. So in this presentation, this I have taken only the one which I found. I mean, which was applicable to this slide. So it says that the loan can be profited for new development or expansion of rooms to existing houses. So I assume that this meant that the post occupancy upgradation is a part. But it says the accepted answer is true. So I have not understood this logic. If you can just explain me that, I don't know.
okay. I will also share the previous presentation once with you, so that
Okay.
it will be easier for me to explain because this is mostly a conceptual kind of question as far as I remember.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll stop sharing then, sir. Is it okay?
okay, okay. I
Yeah.
understood
Yeah.
your concern. So just give me a couple of minutes. It's like taking a little time for this.
No problem, sir. Sure.
Okay, let me share my screen first. Uh, okay, just let me know if my screen is visible once again.
This is just getting shared, sir. One a minute.
Okay, okay, is it visible now?
Yes, now it is visible, sir. Week 3, I think you're showing, right?
Okay,
Hello?
okay. Week three
Yes.
question. Okay, if you remember this one. So, you are asking about the PMAY if post occupancy.
Upgradation is a part or not?
Okay, okay. So, apart from that one, let us look at the what are the different schemes which are actually available within the PMAY scheme again. First again, once of all. If you remember all of these, I hope you have discussed in the last session also the same thing. Uh,
No, actually, I was not able to attend that. So,
Okay, I'm really sorry about that. Actually, we could not conduct it in the long run because of it took short while of time. But anyway, so if you look at the different components, PMAY is enabling us. Basically, the PMAY, so professor is trying to focus on is the PMAY urban again. So urban areas, the Prime Minister Awas Yojana. So there are four different components within it. So the first one is in situ slum redevelopment, as we know. So whatever the slum development is happening, so there have been given the one rupees 1 lakh per house, which is admissible for all the houses. Again, similarly, the credit link subsidy scheme. It also discusses about the both the ways. Again, so it means that beneficiaries. I think you can see the point that is written in the blue color here for the credit link subsidy scheme. It means the different housing beneficiaries of EWS, LIG, MIG 1 and 2. They seek housing loans for acquiring new construction or enhancement of houses are eligible for the interest subsidies. Okay, that's the second question. The third one is central assistance of 1.5 lakh per EWS is given for the affordable housing in partnership program, in which either it is the central government assistance is given to the people who are given EWS category or something like even state governments are also making mandatory for the housing projects to include some amount of projects, some amount of house, some amount of floor area to be dedicated for the EWS section. And finally, the fourth one is beneficiary-led construction, which discusses about that eligible families belonging to different categories also are eligible for individual house construction and also enhancement. So it means that PMAY is actually giving an options of post occupancy enhancement of the housing. So that is an option available under the PMAY. So if uh, so, the answer is saying otherwise also. Is it something like that?
uh, you are saying that it is applicable, right?
Yes, sir. Can you share your screen again so that we can
Yeah,
look at the
just
question?
just a second. I'll share. So this is the question. Post occupancy housing upgradation is not a part of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana.
Okay, post is not a part. It is a part of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana anyway. So
Yeah, it is. Now that's why I selected false, but it says
okay,
otherwise. So I've not understood.
so in that case, actually, it should be the similar case with me also. So I'll try to communicate it with the professor, and I'll just let you know in the
Yeah.
upcoming week. Okay, I hope that will.
Actually, I was surprised that nobody else has put up. So I was thinking where I'm going wrong. I have not understood.
Sure,
So
sure, sure. I understand your concern anyway. So it is a s it is also a similar concern for me also. So I'll try to put up with. I'll also try to communicate this with the professor, and I'll just let you know.
okay, great, great. That will be very helpful, sir. Thank you
Sure,
so
sure,
much.
sure, sure. Thank you, thank you. No, actually, what happened was I had a discussion with professor in the after the previous session, and he said that he might be attending this week's session, but actually I was traveling somewhere, so I could not contact him in the meanwhile. So, if
Oh,
possible, I'll try to add him into the next session so that we can also have a much
sure.
comprehensive discussion in the upcoming week.
Yes, sure, sir. Will do.
Sure, sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Hopefully,
much.
then so if everything is okay, we can also continue with this week's session. And I hope Siddiq and Hisham did not miss most of the presentation. If
Sir, actually, na, your voice is very low, you know. Even if you may be talking in a normal tone, but we are able to hear a very low voice. So I tried making it maximum volume and everything, but still.
okay, I think some kind of filter is set up in my system. So I'll try to remove
Oh,
everything, and then
okay,
uh,
okay.
there is some kind of noise suppression. I'm trying to remove. Is it audible now?
Yeah, it is audible, but that's what the overall, I mean, what do you say? The volume is, this is very low.
Sure, sure, sure. I'll try to be as loud as possible anyway. But if there is any kind of problem, just update me at any point of time. Okay. So anyway, if
Yes.
somebody has missed the presentation, I'll just rush through all the five questions once again if it is required. Then we'll focus on the content, which can give a better understanding of the concepts which we have discussed in the week four. So again, okay. First of all, let us look at the first question. I think most of you have missed because of the on and off uh, incoming and outgoing of the learners from the session. So let us try to discuss once again. So development plan, as we discussed earlier, even in the sessions, that it is usually prepared for the period of 5 years. The,
Sir,
uh,
hello.
uh, uh,
Aditya, sir, your screen, you have not shared the screen yet.
okay,
Huh.
okay, okay. Okay, now I hope it is visible to everyone. So again, the development plan, it is usually prepared for the period of 5 years, as we discussed in the different sessions. So another thing is the 10 to 25 years period of time, it is usually a large scale plan prepared for the large scale areas. Again, it may be the metropolitan regions or the districts. That is usually a perspective plan. So development plans are usually prepared for 5 years of time, and the 1 year is usually the annual plan. So similarly, the second question which we discussed, back calculation of the population from the density values which we get. So dwelling unit is an equivalent of the household size. So if we have been given a dwelling unit, each dwelling unit having a person of four, and there are 200 hectares of area. If we look at this particular matrix, each square is representing an area of 1 hectare. So there are 10 into 20, 20 hectares. So each hectare is having 80 dwelling units, that is 80 households, and each household in turn is having four people. So that is causing 80 into 4, 320. 320 people in each hectare of area in the sector. So if we calculate, that is 320 persons per each hectare of 200 hectare of sectorial area is 64,000. As simple as that. But there is no need for us to graph it out every time. So we just have to take the given values, take the total area of 200 hectares, each having a 4 persons per dwelling unit, and dwelling unit density of 280 dwelling units per each hectare. The population will be total area multiplied by the dwelling unit size, that is household size, times the density of the dwelling units or households. So the population, we multiply it accordingly. Accordingly the units also get cancelled out in the numerator and denominator. We identified that population of 64,000, as we discussed earlier. The 64,000 is present in the particular sector. Similarly, Let us go to the third question. Which of the following separates the traffic moving on the opposite side? It's a very simple and straightforward question. So the median is a structural element that is actually separating the traffic moving in the two different directions in any given road or road of any hierarchy. So similarly, and the fourth question, physical infrastructure is the correct answer to the sewerage system. Water supply, sewerage system, road transportation. All of these are essentially providing us the basic amenities of the services associated with each one. So if you are looking at the physical infrastructure, it means, for example, if you say the water supply is the service, water supply, the supply of water, the amount of water reaching, then the water supply pipeline, water transmission line, and the distribution network, this refers to the water supply infrastructure. So, water supply infrastructure is providing the service of the water supply. Similarly, sewerage network, sewerage system is providing as a service of collection of the wastewater from your household. So, sewerage system refers to the physical infrastructure segment of the uh, cities and rural areas. So the correct answer for the particular question is that physical infrastructure reflects the sewerage system of the city. And the fifth question, similarly, we discussed again how we calculated the residential net residential density and gross residential density of the different sectors of urban areas. Consider if we are having 80 hectares of gross residential area, in which 60 hectares is dedicated for the net residential purpose, that is dedicated residential space, and each hectare of net residential area is having 300 persons per hectare. So we are calculating the gross residential area. If each hectare has 300 persons in uh, dedicated net residential area, how many people are living in each hectare of this residential area, along with some of the additional spaces which are also part of the gross residential area, that include, as we discussed earlier, which also includes the immediate required land uses such as access roads, collector roads, and local streets, and even the community hall and the local parks and the green spaces. So we calculated this 18,000 is the population of this net residential area. So now we have to calculate how many people are living in each hectare of net residential area, along with the other land uses which are abutment to this particular land use. That is how we calculate it. So we identified that the total number of people living in each hectare, that is 225 persons per hectare of the gross residential density. So if we have to calculate it simplified in a simplified way without making any graph, that is just for the simplification purpose. So in 80 hectares of total gross area, the net residential area is 60. So the net residential density is 300 persons per hectare. So first we have to calculate the population. To calculate population, we have to multiply net residential density with net residential area. So we have identified that 18,000 people are living in the total area. So to calculate the gross residential area, we have to multiply the population with the gross residential area. The gross residential area includes the residential plots which we have discussed, the 60 hectares of residential plots, along with the 20 hectares of access roads, the local facilities, that is, it can be community hall, it can be small commercial spaces, etc., and the green spaces which include the parks and etc. So if we calculate the gross residential density, that is the same 18,000 people are having additional 20 hectares, 60 hectares of net residential area and 20 hectares of other facilities, which includes uh, different land uses. So the total gross density is 225 persons per hectare. So if we look at it, if we just look at the net residential area, that is the area that is dedicated specifically for the residential area, only the residential plots have 300 persons per hectare, but residential areas along with the abutment roads and the other facilities such as community halls and the parks have 225 persons per hectare. So there is some kind of small variation between the net residential density and the gross residential density. So the correct answer for this particular question is 225 persons per hectare. PPH refers to the persons per hectare. So based on the discussion, again, whatever we have discussed in the week three, so I'm also trying to provide additional resources and other literature and other documents which can also help us understand the concepts which we have discussed in the week four accordingly, week four in a much detailed manner. So in this week, we let us try to discuss different concepts which include the district planning committee, metropolitan planning committee, the NITI Aayog, National Institution for Transformation of India, Aayog reports. Then the urban local bodies role in town planning and development control. Then development control regulations. The residential. For this one, we have taken example of Hyderabad as a case study, and even the floor space index FSI, similar example as we take. So, district planning committee actually refers to a committee that should be established by the state government. State governments, under the respective Panchayat Raj Acts, they have to frame a district planning committee that will actually prepare a plan, uh, consolidating all the plans which have been prepared with the different gram panchayat and the municipalities which are located in the whole city, whole district. So, it has been mandated under the Article 243 ZD uh, of the Constitution of India. So after the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, the government of India has mandated the state governments to make a procedure. The legislature of state, it mentions that state government has to make a provision where they can frame a district planning committee in which the people who are responsible for the planning, district planning committee, the planning at the district level will include elected members of this panchayat at the district level, panchayats and the municipalities which are located within the district. So what it focuses on, district planning committee, it focuses on the whatever the interest should be taken for the spatial planning and the sharing of the different resources, local water and other physical and natural resources, and integrated development of infrastructure and environmental conservation of the district. The panchayat and the municipalities of this district together is a major focus of the district planning committee. Similarly, there is also a provision for the metropolitan planning committee. The state government again has to look into this issue, and they have to uh, make a draft development plan for the metropolitan area. So, metropolitan area is a city along with the surrounding outgrowths and the uh, surrounding cities, the contiguous growths and the outgrowths and the urban agglomeration together. So the metropolitan planning committee shall be formed again similarly as the district planning committee by the state government under the respective town and country planning acts and other provisions. Similarly, similar to the DPC, even the metropolitan planning committee has the elected members from the municipalities and the panchayat chairpersons which are presented in the metropolitan planning areas, and they prepare a draft development plan and how to spend the different resources, how to allocate the resources for the different land uses, and how the metropolitan area should be developed. And the plans are prepared by the municipalities. They have to approve the plans and uh, plans to be prepared for the municipalities and panchayats and develop them in a holistic way. The spatial planning and similarly the sharing of the different natural resources and the integrated development of the. Uh, I'm really sorry, there is a small power cut in our area, so I hope my screen is visible to everybody. I'm joining through the mobile hotspot.
Yes, sir, screen is visible.
Okay,
Actually, it was visible and now it is not.
okay. I hope now it is visible.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, okay. So now, so that we have discussed the responsibilities of the different committees. Again, DPC we discussed, then Metropolitan Planning Committee. And now let us discuss what Niti Aayog, because the professor has discussed it in a very brief manner. So I also thought like we can also have some detailed insight of what Niti Aayog does actually. So earlier there used to be planning commission in India. So government of India has realized there is a need for an integrated development where we also can include the state governments in the economic policy making. So what planning commission used to do, they used to prepare 5-year plans in a period for the uh, 5-year plans. There are around 13 5-year plans. Each of them is focusing on different contexts, and it actually recommends the different state governments and the central government how the development should be focused on. So in 2014, the government of India has made the planning commission obsolete, and then they have brought into the picture a new institution that is known as National Institute for Transforming India, It is also simplified as Niti Aayog. So it is a nodal agency. It is encouraged to support the economic development. And similarly, it also involves, unlike the planning commission, it involves the state governments. It also takes their opinion how it works and everything, and they make economic policy making process using a bottom up approach. So because it's also including the opinions of the state governments. So you can also go to the website of the Niti Aayog, so that is the given link, and actually prepare different annual reports focusing on how the development is happening within the different parts of India, and the so they make a summarized report in different sectors, including the water supply and water supply, housing sector, infrastructure sector, physical and social infrastructure sector. And there is also an interesting study made by the Niti Aayog for the housing condition in India in the year of 2015. So it is also available in the particular link, which I will also share apart from the presentation in the documents which you receive through the NPTEL portal. Then again, uh, urban local bodies' role in town planning and development control, which we have discussed earlier also. But let us look at the different factors which are listed down in the 12th schedule again. There are 18 different subjects which have been discussed, but because we know that urban local bodies have a different kind of role in the town planning and development control. When we say the development control, how the building should be, how the density should be allocated from one place to another. So, and even where the residential land should be provided, where the uh, high land use can be provided. How can you use the FSA as a uh, t- tool to uh, tool to concentrate and deconcentrate the population in different areas of the city? So why an urban local body should do it? Because it has been given as an obligatory duty to the urban local bodies as by the government of India. That is in the 12th schedule, Article 243W. They have mentioned that urban planning and town planning is a responsibility of the urban local bodies. They have they have to regulate the land use and the construct of building construction, roads and bridges, provide the essential services, water supply, public health, fire services, urban forestry, etc. So they have to know which areas need to be conserved. So that is why urban forestry, protection of environment is also one of the important aspect of it. As we discussed in the previous week's sessions, also slum improvement and upgradation, urban poverty alleviation, these are directly associated with the housing policy and planning. And finally, vital statistics, including registration of birth and rights, it means that the government has to keep a count of how many people are residing within the city, and the public amenities such as street lighting, parking lots, etc., which are immediate or which should be at the disposal of the citizens of a city. So for the same example, I am just we thought I thought like we can look at a simple urban local body, one of the urban local bodies website. For this one, I have thought like we can look at it. So if you look at the Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation, it is a statutory body. It is a municipal corporation for the city of Hyderabad. So if you look at it, there are different portals which are available within it. So if you look at the services provided by the GHMC, it's a building application. The building approvals and everything is actually provided by the GHMC. So this is one of the important tasks which is fulfilled by the urban local body. And similarly, the transfer of development rights, how the development rights can be transferred in the terms of the economic value and other properties. So where we can cut down the height of the buildings, and so that we can uh, compensate it in a different area of the city. So that is how the different ways in which urban local bodies are working in this one. So it is one of an interesting studies. And similarly, town planning, health and sanitation, parks and urban biodiversity, playgrounds, engineering, and traffic and transportation are also the similar domains which urban local bodies should be focused on. In a similar angle, as we discussed, master plans are prepared by the uh, urban local bodies. For similarly, inspection reports and government orders are also there. The layout regularization, much more details are also actually available. So similarly, if you look at the different master plans prepared, the Hyderabad Metropolitan Region has a master plan. As well, Hyderabad Urban Development Authority has a different master plan, and Hyderabad Airport Development Authority. So there are different master plans dedicated for the different spaces, different regions of the cities, which are our different focus areas. So Airport Development Authority area has a different kind of norms and regulations with compared to the other areas of the Hyderabad Metropolitan Development Area. So finally, to a small example how the residential land use has been allocated in the Hyderabad. So if you look at the DCRs, So now because now we have discussed in one of the questions that what the land uses which are allowed. So there are, if we remember the question number 5, there is 60 hectares of the land dedicated to the net residential area, and then other allied areas has 20 hectares of area. So what are the different uses permitted in the city of Hyderabad for the under the development control regulation for the under the residential land use. So if you look at it, there is the first point discusses the all types of residential buildings. Then there is set of other building uses which are allowed within this area, and it also gives us a certain land uses which are prohibited, including hazardous industries, hazardous storages, etc. So now we can understand that whenever we look at the maps, any master plans, let it be the example which has been provided by the professor, this is Delhi master plan. So the residential area that is marked yellow also has some mix of other buildings and other land uses also, which are actually in supporting the existence of the land use, residential land use in the particular city. So that is how it actually works. So okay, similarly, FSI and again floor space index also, it is also has been used as a tool because it has been discussed by professor in a detailed manner. So I'm not going to much detail of it. But some interesting observation which we have made for the Hyderabad city states that FSA can be recommended based on different factors, which include the plot areas, building height, setbacks, and the width of the road. And these FSA levels can vary from one part of the city to another. So there is this particular insert has been taken from the excerpt has been taken for the development control regulations of the Hyderabad city. So it means it shows that and it's an as well. It's an old one actually. So it means it has given this special FSI for the two different pockets of the city. So that is how FSI could also vary from one part of the city to another. So actually that's it from my side for this particular session. If you have any other doubts, we can discuss in detail if possible. Apart from the ones which we have discussed uh, just now with respect to the previous question, which we have discussed with respect to the previous week's question by Lena. So if you have any other questions, we can discuss it in detail. And I hope this week's session is also clear to if there's any kind of query, any kind of query, please don't hesitate to ask us. Any other question also, you can also ask me through the chat box if you have any. Okay, in that case, I'll also wait for a couple of minutes, and if you have any other query, I'll be. Uh, so in that case, I'll also wait for a couple of minutes. If there is any query, you can also approach me through your by unmuting yourself, or also you can also type your respective queries in the chat box. So, okay, then I think if there are no other queries, we can conclude this meeting. And thank you everyone for joining this session and wish you best luck. Thank you very much.